I grew up in an old apartment building in the fictional town of Vermilion Heights almost 10 years ago. It wasn't some grand palace, it's just a simple building with several families living in it. I lived there with my family, and there were about 12 families in total. The landlord, who lived downstairs with his wife, 2 sons, and their families, was always around, making the building feel like a real home. But there was one apartment in that building that stood out. On the first floor, it was the largest. It was huge. It had a spacious living room, a large kitchen, a bathroom, and even a private balcony. For a long time, this apartment stayed vacant because the rent was too high, and no one was interested in renting it. Then one year, a new family moved in. They were very quiet, kept to themselves, and didn't socialize much with anyone. This was a bit odd because the other families were always socializing. The family consisted of 2 brothers, one of whom was married, and their elderly parents. No one really interacted with them much. One day, I came home from school and noticed that all the windows of the large apartment were shut, even though they were usually open for some fresh air. As soon as I saw this, I got a strange feeling, but I didn't think much of it. Later that day, my mom quickly asked me to go upstairs without explaining why. I didn't understand what was going on, but the look on her face, the worry, made me feel uneasy. Sometime later, I found out what really happened. That morning, the landlord went into the apartment and discovered something that shook me to my core. The daughter-in-law of the family was dead, and the family claimed it was a tragic incident. But something didn't feel right. The room she was in was locked from the inside, and things in the room were out of place, like they had been moved hastily, as if someone was trying to erase something. The family said it was a suicide, but there were many details that didn't add up. The strangest part was that the very next day, the family disappeared. They didn't tell the landlord, the neighbors, or anyone else. They were gone overnight. After that, something changed in the apartment. It didn't feel the same anymore. My friends and I started noticing strange occurrences. We would often hear soft whispers like someone was talking, but the voices came from nowhere, as if they were all around us. And there was also this cold breeze, which would come from nowhere, no matter the weather. It felt like someone was standing right behind us, but when we turned around, no one was there. I couldn't sleep at night. I started having nightmares. In one of them, I was running through the building's hallways, and I saw strange figures in the shadows. But when I looked at them closely, they started to look like the family who had lived there. Their faces were twisted, their eyes hollow, and they were coming after me. I would wake up drenched in sweat, and it felt like I wasn't alone. Every night, I would feel like someone was staring at me, like someone was close, but when I looked, no one was there. A few days later, one of my friends, Mark, decided he would go check it out himself to see what was going on. He thought it was all just stories, but when he went into the apartment, he regretted it. Later, he told me that when he stepped inside, the temperature dropped suddenly. His breath turned into smoke, and the air inside felt wrong, like something was off. When he tried to leave, the door slammed shut on its own. He tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. When he finally got out, he said it felt like something was chasing him. He never went near that apartment again. Rumors began to spread among the tenants. People started saying that the woman's death wasn't just a tragedy, it was something darker. Some even said that the family had brought something with them, something evil. And that's when I realized no one had the courage to talk about it anymore. Fear had made everyone silent, and no one dared to speak up. In the end, the landlord decided to tear down the building. He said it was for repairs, but I think there was something more to it. It seemed like he wanted to erase the painful history that had happened there. But even as we watched the building being torn down, something felt wrong. The workers even said they felt like someone was watching them. Some said they too heard the same eerie whispers. Then, as they were tearing down the walls of the apartment, they discovered a strange symbol carved into the wooden floor. This symbol was unusual, like it had been there for centuries. And as soon as they saw it, the temperature dropped even further and the air became heavier. It was like the building itself had awakened and was warning us. Even now, I still feel like that woman's spirit is still lingering there. Sometimes when I'm alone, I hear faint whispers, like someone is trying to tell me something. And whenever I pass through that area again, I feel the same old cold sensation, like something or someone is watching me. I have replaced the real locations with fictional names, ensuring no place in the story corresponds to a real-world location. The names used are Vermilion Heights, and other terms are entirely imaginary for a universal experience.